Hello everyone! So, I decided that I wanted to implement Five Nights at Freddy's in pure vanilla Minecraft, except instead of having scary clown animatronics, we're gonna use Wardens. So this was a surprisingly fun project to complete, and I like playing the end result, so come and join me on my journey. Alright, so first things first, let's get a basic layout. So the player sits in a control room, of course, so let's just get like a rough outline. Alright, so this is a little bit bigger than the room in the original video game, so the way I'm picturing this working is going to have to be a little bit different. Just because of what Minecraft gives you to work with. So let's maybe put like a rough doorway here and here. And we'll probably change a bunch of things up as we test this and we kind of see how things work. Like I literally just thought of doing this like right now. So we'll see how this goes. All right. Now, of course, we need the hallways off to the side of this, the main room. So like this, and again over here, like so. Now, there's a big cafeteria section here, so we'll just make a big square room right here. Alright, so I just went ahead and just did a rough layout for this, so we might change this up later, but for now, it's just something to work with. Okay, so the way I'm picturing this working is you can either make or prevent noise in certain rooms to keep the wardens from coming closer to you. So we could put noise machines in like all of these rooms here, and we could have some sort of mechanisms in the control room here that will either like prevent the noise machines from going off, say in the closer rooms, or actually cause them to start going off, like in the further away room over here. Now, of course, there has to be a cost to do something that is beneficial to the player. So I'm thinking in the control room here, there will be like, you know, the power left bar, and it will decrement as the player engages in certain actions, and it'll probably decrement slightly just as the game progresses anyway, but doing anything that is helpful to the player should cause it to decrement faster. Alright, so let's do some experiments with some noise machines and some wardens and see what works. But first, I kind of want to move this whole thing up a little bit just so we have room for the redstone that goes beneath. Perfect, though I did forget to turn off mob spawning, but that's fixed now. Okay, so let's maybe just go in one of these bigger rooms and let's see what the wardens interact with. And a lever there, and let's put a warden over here. Alright. Oh yeah, we need to do... There we go. Yeah, that makes him mad. Okay, so... Hold on, let's stop this. Okay, so I believe that wardens only hear noise within a certain radius, so I think it's about 15 blocks or something really small. So let's test that. Yeah, so these guys can't hear that at all. Okay, that's interesting. So let's actually count out. So 1, and then do 15, 16. Okay, he heard that. Yeah, see this guy, he's not that far, but he's actually too far to hear the bell. Oh, see, yeah, now he hears it. It's right here. It's like this is 15 blocks away. Alright, so I have added a bunch of noise machines in each of the different rooms. Now, the issue is, so I'm thinking the wardens are going to start the game in the back room here. So the problem is, if we have a bunch of these guys, like, they're just gonna hang out in there, and they might like gradually start wandering towards the player, but it's not really likely that it'll happen in a reasonable amount of time. And in the original game, you know, you have to, you know, open and close the doors here like regularly. So I'm thinking that there's got to be some sort of like method to when each of these noise machines goes off. So they it might be more likely towards the beginning of the game for the noise machines at like this level here to start going off, and then as it progresses, it'll be more likely for these to go off. So it will kind of create like an aggro net that will draw the wardens towards the player. Alright, so let's just demonstrate this real quick. So we could start off with the wardens in here. And so each of these noise machines should be close enough to the others that it should draw the wardens to them. Alright, and so of course there are these little side rooms here, so these have the chance to go off and sort of draw the wardens away from the player, with the downside that they are incredibly noisy and annoying, so you can't actually hear like the doors or the trapdoor variety from in here, but you can hear the bell, so I don't know if I want to change that or if I want that annoying factor to be part of the game. Okay, so we can turn that off. And now, even if these are toggled like just for a second, the warden should still go over and inspect what was making the noise. So, and then of course we have these here. And they should be able to pathfind inside. Yes, very good. Okay. Alright, now, so I'm thinking that in the control room here, the player is going to have to control what noise machines are being toggled by standing on pressure plates. So that, of course, puts additional risk because the wardens are going to hear that and they might come to inspect what was making the noise. And at that point, the player is in a whole lot of trouble. And now for the fun part. Let's start putting in the redstone and getting this thing to work. Alright, so the first thing would be connecting the pressure plates to the noise machines. So we have 7 of these total, and there are 9 total plates here, so that's 1 for each of the noise machines, and then an additional 2 for the redstone doors that I was thinking could go here. Okay, so the way I'm thinking this is going to work is we could have lines going to the noise machines, so let's just hook up that one. Okay, so we're gonna put a repeater there, and then a powered rail, and we're just going to put a powered rail line all the way over here. So using powered rails just helps, you know, prevent a little bit of lag and such. So since we're gonna have a toggle state, we're going to use the observer piston trick, and that should be like that. Okay. Alright, now let's test this, so let's go over here and then... Alright, so we can hear that it's going off while we're on the pressure plate, and it resets as soon as we go off, and it should be... Yep, perfect. Alright, so I have put in the rest of the redstone, and I also added some piston doors here. Pretty easy. Yeah, it's a bit of a mess. Don't judge me. And sometime later, and I have added the timer that will control the duration of the game. So I'm thinking I want it to go for 6 minutes because in the original game, the shift was a 6-hour shift. So these dual hopper clocks here will run for that amount of time. So in the front one here, we have enough items to make it run for 51 seconds. So after that, this hopper will be temporarily unlocked, and then one of these wooden axes will go in here. So after that, it will basically go in cycles of 102 seconds, sort of. So all of those put together will give you 6 minutes total. So the reason we're using unstackable items in here is we want the line of redstone coming out of here to have a particular signal strength as the game progresses. So as it goes onward, that line will get more and more power, ending with about 9. So what's going on here is I want the noise machines to start going off as the game gets further along. So I'm thinking of having you know, like the more power coming out of here, the further along it will be able to reach. And so that's how we will be able to power like only the close ones at first, and then it will be able to reach the further along ones as the game progresses. Okay, if we come over here to the player control room, I have had to change my plans a little bit. So I was originally hoping that we could use pressure plates to add a little bit of danger to the game, but it turns out it's just a little bit too dangerous. So let me show you. If we spawn in a warden and then come over here and go into survival mode, you would think that the warden might show preference for whatever noise machine is going off, but no. So it chooses like what to get aggroed at, and so because the player is making any kind of noise, it doesn't matter if there's a noise machine close by, it'll go for the player. Alright, so I have gone ahead and fixed that up. Now, the last thing to do is to put in the power decrementer, and I want to put that in the wall behind me, but before we do that, I think we should just go ahead and decorate this room so we get an idea of how big it's going to be and all of that stuff, and then we'll put in all of the redstone behind me. Okay, so the first thing, let's do the iconic checkered floor. So we're gonna use everyone's favorite block ever, polished diorite, if it'll go in. Okay, there we go. So unpopular opinion, but I think this block, I think that diorite is actually a really nice block, and it looks great if you know what you're doing with it. And done. And look what a difference that makes. Okay, so for the hallways out here, I was thinking instead of the checkerboard pattern, we would actually do soul soil with some soul flames on it. So that'll keep the player from exiting into the hallway and trying to see where the wardens are, but the wardens will be able to just walk right through here, no problem. And now for the walls, we are going to use a technique that I like to call the accent stripe. So we are going to have a single line of blocks of a particular color going along the bottom here. And done. So now for the iconic little wallpaper with the checkers. So I made a giant map art, and we are going to take some item frames and just start putting the maps in like so. This is easier said than done. There we go. And perfect. Now for the regular walls, we're going to use dead corals, and why don't we bring that 3 high. Alright, now walls are in and textured, and I think that looks really nice. Also, I realized that I had shaders off for the entire time. But anyway, let's do the doors now. So I was thinking some polished basalt would look really nice. And then on the tops, we can do the yellow and black bars, like so. Okay, so does the doorway look better like this or like this? I have no idea, and to be honest, I hate both of them. But we need to put the desk in, so let's do the editing twirl. And it is a desk. So it's not super fancy or anything, but it gets the job done. Now over here, I added a smattering of paintings to resemble the wall posters in the original game. And on this side, I added the sort of battery power level thing. And the way this works is that when you stand in front of one of the observers, we're just going to demonstrate with that. So while this is going off, it will activate this clock over here that will dispense a few items. So these items will help decrement the counter. So the items will make their way over to this bubble column here, and as they go into this hopper, it will cause a quick pulse, which will temporarily unlock this hopper here, allowing items to go into the hopper beneath it. And as there are less and less items in this hopper here, the strength of the redstone output from this comparator will decrease, so it will look like the power bar is going down over time. Alright, I gotta give a quick disclaimer. My redstone is getting really messy spaghetti, And I'm not claiming that I'm like the best at redstone. It's still very much a skill that I'm working on, but I have been testing this as I've been building it, and it does work reliably. Alright, so now let's actually hook up the timer over there so that the game will run and end at the correct times, and add a ceiling, and then let's do a actual playthrough. Oh, and we also need to add the wardens. That is a little important. Oh, and speaking of wardens, I actually wanted to demonstrate. So I said earlier that if you started the game with the wardens in here, they would just stay there and they wouldn't move and it wouldn't be any fun. Well, I was wrong. So I was testing this in survival, and let me show you. So if we look on FreeCam, they will eventually sniff you out and just like make a beeline for you. See, yep, this guy smells me. This guy knows. Oh, so spooky. Yeah, it's been like 10 seconds and the warden's already here. So that's why it actually is really important to, you know, activate the noise machines. Uh-oh. Ugh. All right, now fast forward a bunch of time and there's even more redstone spaghetti, but I'm sure everyone is waiting for a playthrough, so let's get going. All right, so I added this little entry room. So you go in here and it's not super fancy, but it gets the job done. So let's go in survival mode and okay, so you go up here into this little room and you set your respawn point, and then you throw your ender pearl in the stasis chamber like so. Yep, and then we go back down and the game begins as soon as you walk on this pressure plate, so let's go. Alright, so you fall onto this little cobweb here, which not only looks aesthetic, you're actually stuck in the web. So you'll be like, I need to press buttons so the wardens don't kill me, but you can't, because you're stuck in the spider web. Okay, so once you're out, then you can come over here and you can start activating the noise machines. So you just kind of need to know that, like, which one corresponds to which machine. So the one in the middle corresponds to the furthest back one, and as you get closer to the sides, they start corresponding to the ones closer to the player. So you basically just have to keep doing this for 6 minutes. Okay, so I added these little lamps on the ceiling. So the first one will show it's just after midnight, and then the second will show it's just after 1 in the morning. And notice that there are only 5. So that was partly because that's just how many I can fit on the ceiling, and also because when we get towards the final minute of the game, like the final hour of your shift, the battery here is going to be so much lower and there's not going to be any light from the ceiling, so it's going to be just a little bit darker and just a little bit spookier and more eerie. So let me show you actually with FreeCam what's going on. So the one that I was standing on activates this thing here, and so the wardens will just chill here. So notice that you don't need to stand on the thing for the entire time. The wardens will kind of just like hang out in that area. So there's a sort of strategy to how much time you spend, you know, activating the noise machines so you don't deplete your power too quickly. See, we've already depleted about 1/7 of our power, and we're not even halfway through yet. So you just got to be a little bit careful how much time you spend. Also, so I made it so the ones that are a little bit closer to the player are a little bit more expensive to activate. So again, these are all the factors that you need to consider when you are using the noise machines. Also, so you might notice there's no cameras, there's no way to see like what room the wardens are in. So that's partially because it's just like you can't use skulk shriekers to tell, or skulk sensors to tell where the wardens are because they don't activate it. And if you have multiple wardens, then pressure plates at doors' entrances just aren't going to be accurate. So you kind of need to rely on your senses to kind of guess where the wardens are. So I can kind of hear that they're in the back, and when I activate a noise machine, see, let's do that again. Yeah, so they make that sound when they hear noises. So that's how you know that like the warden is in range of the noise machine that I just activated. So if I activated like one of these and it didn't make noise, I would know, okay, so that didn't actually do anything. So you just kind of have to rely on your senses. So another thing to listen for is the wardens kind of like sniffing. So when they are not currently being aggroed by anything making noise, they will start sniffing. Yeah, just like that. And so that's how they will start to sense the player. So when they start sniffing, that's how you know, okay, I need to distract them and like I need to step onto the noise machine. Okay, so we have about 2 minutes left and we've only depleted 2/7 of the battery, so that's pretty good. But we'll just stand here for a little bit. Okay, so the wardens are still in a good spot. They're still in the back of the area. So yeah, the thing about night one is that it's just really easy. You just have to go here and then go back and like that's it. That's all you have to do to survive the night. So I was thinking, as the game progresses, we're going to need to add some more stuff to make it just a little bit more complicated. So that's what the sort of like aggro net that I was talking about earlier, where the noise machines will start activating automatically is for, because that will draw the wardens towards you. But if you have any ideas for like other things that we could do that makes it just a little bit harder for the player, you can leave a comment and I will maybe implement it into the harder nights of the game. So yeah. Oops, let's go backwards. Here we go. What time is it? Ooh, okay, yeah, so all the ceiling lights have depleted and it's getting a little bit darker and just a little spookier in this room. So once we get to like the harder nights where there's more stuff going on, that's definitely going to, it's gonna add a lot to the game. Alright. We did it! Okay, so we survived 6 minutes in this thing. Super easy. So yeah, that was pretty much night one of my 5 Nights at Freddy's game. If you have any suggestions for other features that we could add, feel free to add a comment. If you want me to keep making more levels for this game, let me know. Okay, bye!